What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Aeron and I'm back to discuss Impact Wrestling on the Wrestle YouTube channel. Now, Impact once again delivers a nice, easy, succinct, compact 2 hours of wrestling. And the great thing is, if you watch it after the fact, like I did this morning, you don't have to worry about the adverts and all the shilling of the Impact Plus advert. And it makes it an hour and 26. An hour and 26. It's easy, isn't it? So easy. Pay attention, Raw. Opens up the women's match as well. Oh my god, the novelty of women's wrestling actually being important. Wow. Yeah, I'll throw shade, but it is what it is. Tasha Steelz versus Jazz. Okay, not too bad. I love Jazz. I think she's a Hall of Famer. I think she's a legend. But I must admit, she does feel like she's kind of long in the tooth. We know that she was going to retire and then COVID hit and that kind of slowed things down. So I imagine even she would say that, yeah, it's kind of got to that point now where I'm ready to call it a day. So the matches are a little bit sluggish, very punch-kicky. They're not nearly the kind of affairs you would get from a Jazz of 20 years ago, but she can still go, and she's got great facials and a great presence and definitely a legend. It was fine. It was okay. It is what it is. It's a match, which is nice. And obviously, Jazz getting the win because Jordynne Grace isn't taking any of Kiera Hogan's nonsense on the outside works for me. So it was absolutely fine. I really love the tag match as well, actually. I'm really enjoying the combination of Chris Sabin and James Storm. Just seems to work. They've got great chemistry. They're obviously both legends. Normally, I wouldn't be a huge proponent of singles guys in tag teams. As you know, it's one of my big things is you got to be a proper tag team. But we're talking about two legends of tag team wrestling that have kind of formed from other teams. So it does make sense that they would still have a certain degree of chemistry. They knocked off Rohit Raju and Mahabali Shera, who is okay. I don't dislike anyone on this roster, but Mahabali Shera is just a big unit of a man, but he serves his purpose. And actually, I thought this match was really good. I love James Storm. I've always loved James Storm, particularly when he was in Beer Money, but there just seems to be a real fluidity and enjoyment about watching him. And you can tell that he's enjoying being out there and plying his trade. And this is a guy who just deserves everything. And by all accounts, is a really cool human being as well. I've heard him on podcasts, I've seen cameos and things of that nature, and he always comes off really cool, really working class, a proper man, a proper geezer. You know, he's a bloke. And it's lovely to see him doing that. And Chris Sabin as well. They're just good people. Now, obviously, after the win, they bump into Violent by Design backstage. James Storm obviously takes umbrage with what they're doing to Cody Deaner, but Cody Deaner's not having any of that because he's a brainwashed cultist, essentially. And that's going to lead to a nice little rivalry because this Saturday is Sacrifice. And don't forget, we'll be covering that on the YouTube channel and we'll also be dropping predictions for it too. So, yeah, nice little rivalry, actually, and I feel like I'm more interested in this. And even Jake Something comes along and says, hey, I'll be in your corner to make sure that Eric Young doesn't get away with too many shenanigans. So, interested to see how that match goes. And I keep hearing all these things about Joe Doering being a great worker and, you know, working for All Japan in different places. So, you know, here's an opportunity to see if he can still truly go, because I don't feel like we've seen nearly enough of him so far. Now, normally when they throw out a contract signing, I think, oh, go away. Like, they're so badly done, especially in WWE. Their contract signings so dirk. But the contract signing between the Good Brothers and Finjuice is one of my all-time favourite contract signings because it's just lads being lads and shenanigans, and then an all-out brawl that actually felt like a proper brawl, you know? It's great. They're having little shot skis, and there's cheap plugs for merch, and yeah, I really love this. And I love Gallows and Anderson. I think they are the tag team. They're so good. There are better tag teams in terms of wrestling. There may be slightly better tag teams in terms of just out-and-out charisma, but when you bring it all together, I find it really hard to think of a tag team that does everything as well as they do. For my money, at least, and for my taste. And they're the perfect tag team for this company. They're the perfect tag team champions. And, of course, they're going to face Finjuice, which should be a show stealer for my money. I really feel like this has the potential to completely steal the show. Obviously, the main event notwithstanding, and I'm going to get onto that in a moment. But I really love this contract signing. It was funny. It was entertaining. You know, these contract signings aren't normally like that. So I really appreciated that. And of course, the X Division, let's be honest, it steals the show like it does every single time. Ace Austin and Chris Bay had an instant classic. They did. This is the kind of match where you thought, oh, it's so frustrating, right? If this had been on an AEW pay-per-view or a WWE pay-per-view or NJPW or whatever, people would be raging about it and saying, oh my God, did you see Chris Bay and Ace Austin? Oh my God, it's incredible, world renowned. But because it's on Impact and because it's not very popular, because people are still whinging about the TNA stink and Dixie Carter, etc., etc., it doesn't get the love and applaudits it deserves. The X Division is doing great things. It's easily the standout division, in my opinion, in all of wrestling. And it's particularly the standout division in this company. Chris Bay and Ace Austin work beautifully together. And you also had great little outside interference moments as well. You've got Madman Fulton sitting there, you know, he's sitting there on a steel chair and you know he's going to get involved at some point. And Ace Austin's very clever. He uses him to his advantage without, you know, having him interject in the match, so to speak. And then TJP's up at the rampway and he's sitting down and he's winding up Ace Austin, and he knows that if he goes out there and winds him up, it's going to drive Madman Fulton, and it leads to Chris Bay getting a win. And it all just works so well. And even backstage at Swingers Palace, Daddy, I still want that guy on this podcast in full, I want to say gimmick, but let's be honest, that's who he is in real life. You can just tell. He's an absolute carny con artist legend. I love him dearly. And I've met many a promoter like Johnny Swinger. TJP's backstage there. And you get Josh Alexander coming over as well. Oh boy, podcast alumni, master of fires, Josh Alexander. And he's essentially saying, yeah, it doesn't matter who comes out of the match at Sacrifice as X Division champion. I am going to be waiting. And I love the fact he was like, you got the X Division title on a poker table. Like, the disrespect. I will bring prestige back to that belt. He didn't need to say it. It was implied in his actions and his mannerisms. This guy truly is one of the best wrestlers in the world, period. He's fucking phenomenal. He really is everything that people should want to be as far as a wrestler is concerned. Genuinely, if anyone comes to me and says, oh, you know, who would you say is the measuring stick for wrestling? Say, look at Josh Alexander. He's fucking phenomenal. The somewhat main event was ODB versus Karen. Sorry, Susan. Whatever. Terrible gimmick. I'm sorry. The only thing that's good about it is that the other wrestlers can poke fun at it. So from that perspective, I suppose it's doing a job. But I just find it boring. Whatever. And also it takes away from her wrestling quite a lot, because obviously she can't adapt what she does as Sue Young in the ring. She just has to be this obnoxious, overbearing Sue. So she can't go out there and do any of the more horrific stuff in that. But I'd like to see her change back to Sue Young at some point. I feel like this has gone on kind of long enough now and it's getting a bit stale. But it's great to see ODB. Bam! I love that. I think that's great. I loved her little interview backstage as well with Gia, and she's like, do you want some? She's offering her alcohol. She's like, no, I'm working. She's like, yeah, me too. Bam! Like, I love her because she's everything that, you know, a lady shouldn't be. I love the fact that she's completely anti-conformist and her character is brilliant, and that's who she is as well. And how can you not like ODB? You'd have to really have a malfunction in your funny circuit to not enjoy ODB in some format. The match was okay at best. I don't really care that much though, because it got ODB over as this big monster who's ready to whoop Deonna Purrazzo's ass and take that Knockouts Championship this weekend. Don't think she will, but it's quite cool to see her getting another title shot all these years later. Big schmoz at the end. And then, of course, the show closes out with Rich Swann and Moose doing a little bit of posturing, pretty much. Scott D'Amore seen talking to somebody. We don't know who. I'm pretty sure we did, though, let's be honest. And, of course, he says, cool, we've got it all worked out. And then he hears Moose's music. He goes out there and he says, the winner of you two this Saturday is going to face Kenny Omega at Rebellion. It's not a surprise. I'm sorry, it's not. I mean, Kenny Omega's logo has been on the Rebellion poster since it was dropped. Like, you'd have to be pretty stupid to not realise that Kenny Omega was going to be pretty much main eventing of this show. I have no interest in Kenny Omega, but I do have a lot of interest in Rich Swann versus Moose. That is going to be a banger this weekend. That is the match that you have to say should steal the show, and is definitely the one with the biggest implications. Because even though I don't like Kenny Omega, it is going to be very cool to see the Impact versus AEW champion. I kind of want Moose to win, because I want to see Moose destroy Kenny Omega, but let's be honest, I guarantee, pretty much guarantee, Kenny Omega's going to win this belt. And I shall reserve judgment, but for me, I would very much like to know where they're going with it, because you could really fuck up Impact if you're not careful here. And I don't think Impact needs Kenny Omega's rub. You know, AEW fans are so fucking toxic, and they're going to be out here saying, actually, Kenny Omega, oh, he spiked the ratings, blah, blah, blah. Well, they had a massive rating spike last week, and he was nowhere to be seen. And the fact that he couldn't even be shown on the screen, just a little video vignette where he's like, hey, Moose, hey, Red Swan, whoever wins, I'm going to be coming for you. You could have spliced it in or edited it in, whatever. Like, instead, Scott D'Amore's like, yeah, you're going to be facing Kenny Omega. And everyone's like, oh my God, Impact just broke the internet. Not really. I just find it hard to get excited. I'm sorry. I know people are marking out like crazy because it's the Forbidden Door, which, by the way, is the most annoying. Seriously, that thing's more overplayed than How You Remind Me by Nickelback. God, unbearable. But it is what it is. But I'm looking forward to Sacrifice, most importantly. Hopefully, Kenny Omega is going to lend himself to this program a little bit more, other than just turning up for a match and that's it. You know, I'd like to see a little bit more than that. But I look forward to Sacrifice, especially. It's going to be a great show. Obviously, check out our YouTube channel for predictions and, of course, a review of the show, which will most likely be dropping on the Sunday. But from myself, Aeron X, thank you very much for watching. As always, don't forget you can grab a t-shirt at prowrestlingtees.com/WrestlePlug. Or if you're in Europe, I highly recommend our Big Cartel shop. That's wrestleplug.bigcartel.com. And don't forget, we have another fantastic interview from the wrestling world dropping this Sunday as well. You will not want to miss this one. Some might say he has a vendetta. There you go. There's your clue. Can you guess who it is? Leave your predictions in the comments below. I've been Aeron X. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you very soon for more content from the Wrestle Plug.